How's it going, everyone? It's me, V. I wanted to thank those that came out to support the protest, the ones that have been popping up and just saying, hey, man, we support you. I really wanted to give a big shout out to Marlene because, I don't know, yesterday I was feeling super down on myself about all this, and she saw me on the news and she looked me up on Facebook, and she gets it. She said she understands me because she spent 30 years working as a correction in the corrections field in places like Edmonton Max and Edmonton Remand and a couple other places. I was just like, wow. And she was like, you don't scare me. I'm a 5-foot Indian woman and I don't care. You seem like you're going in the right direction, and people like you need to speak up, and we need to be heard. And she was talking to me about how she was getting treated in the healthcare system and how she's getting neglected and her family was neglected, and how it's caused some deaths in her family with how Indigenous people get treated by doctors, by nurses, by the system. It's hard. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to do all of this stuff while I'm trying to get the proper mental health care, like the medication that I need, the right everything. Something that people don't know is, like, lately I've been trying to find doctors that will help me get on a medication or help me get off my medication, because I've been on mirtazapine for a year, and I've gained some weight from it, and I can't sleep without it. I get super anxious when I don't have it. Like 2 days after being off of it, I'll go into a total panic attack episode, and I'll freak out, and I'll want to like pack everything in my backpack and fucking run as far as I can. And it's fucking hard because I deal with a lot of mental health issues that I don't want to talk about because, you know, society's told me as a man I'm not supposed to talk about this shit. You know, I'm supposed to sweep it under the rug. And I'm trying to get like professional help with it, and I get swept under the rug. I went and saw a psychologist or psychiatrist last year, and he was super rude and insulting. And, you know, I told him that I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be a psychologist, and I wanted to be in like mental health and helping addictions. And he told me that he scoffed at me. He laughed and he scoffed at me, and he said that there's no way that was possible. And this is an Alberta like health official. I really wanted to reach over and like fucking punch the guy out, because he pretty much just told me I wasn't capable of doing anything. It sucks with the treatment that we get in our healthcare system, because it was that same doctor that put me on the mirtazapine, and I've been on it, and I've gained some weight, and you know, gaining weight isn't a bad thing, but the dependence on it now, when I'm off of it, like I said, 2 days after being off of it. I don't sleep. I haven't slept. And they just tell me to go to the hospital. But then who wants to go to the hospital during this COVID epidemic? Who wants to go stay there? I've called the health line and asked for new doctors that are taking new patients, and nobody's really taking a new patient right now because of COVID. I don't want to see my old doctor because up in North Edmonton Medical Clinic, he doesn't even look at me. He comes in, he'll either go look on the laptop in the room or he'll bring a tablet in and he'll just say, what's the problem? And then he'll just say, okay, here's some Seroquel, or here's more metazapine. Here's this. And he doesn't even pay attention to me. He just thinks that I'm fishing for pills. It fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. Because I'm trying to do this the proper way. If I really wanted to, I could probably go fish on the internet for, some ad events to get off of this shit. But I don't know what's all out there. I don't know what has fucking fentanyl in it. So, yeah, I want to go fucking talk to a doctor and just say, here, man, give me this for 3 days so I can get through this fucking hurdle. And then I'll be okay. And they don't even listen to me because they want to put me on Seroquel. And I was dependent on that a long time ago. And they want to put me on Zydus, this antipsychotic that turns you into a zombie. They just want to heavily medicate me when I'm in school right now, and I'm trying. It sucks because I was taking dance lessons and shit and trying to do that, but I couldn't really do that because they put me on a different medication that made me excessively sweat, which was fucking gross. Who wants to dance with someone who's fucking pouring sweat? It sucks. It fucking sucks. And then all of these doctors think that as Indigenous people, we get everything is covered. Well, not everything is covered. Non-narcotic alternatives aren't covered. Waiting 48 days for an approval. 48 business days I'm waiting for an approval to get approved for this medication. People say that I don't need a medication, but I suffer from a lot of trauma, and I'll admit that. I don't know how to normally react to my emotions, and I react angrily, and I can't get the help for that because I have a record. Because I have armed robbery on my record, and there are a lot of privatized institutions in Alberta that won't see me because I have a record and there's a violent offense on it. And it's what am I supposed to do? And then places that will see me, SACE, which is fucking awesome, is a 3 to 6 month wait list. And when I do have the time to go there, it's shut down because of COVID. Now it's reopened, but you still gotta wait. And it's not just this for Indigenous men, it's this for Indigenous women. The ones that have anger problems that have no problem punching someone out because someone told them something that they didn't agree with. because they don't know how to handle their emotions, because that's what a lot of us are taught, and changing that. And that's why I'm grateful for gets it. She worked in the system. She worked she worked as a guard in some institutions here in Alberta, and she said that she didn't have any problems, and she was this 5 foot, I think, 2 Aboriginal woman, and she said she didn't give a shit. So yeah, we need to stop relying on all these like privatized treatment centers, especially for Indigenous people, the ones that have trauma, and not just Indigenous people, but are homeless, that suffer from traumatic experiences and don't know how to deal with life, and are angry and violent, and because I've gone to some of these like non-for-profit Christian organizations that they're just a when you move in, you sign a lease, or you put down a damage deposit, and in that damage deposit there's a sobriety clause in it. A lot of these private health, the sober living housing in Alberta, the non-for-profit Christian ones, they have a sobriety clause in their damage deposit. So if you relapse while you're in this like sober living house, they take your whole damage deposit, even if you don't even like cause any harm, damage, whatever. If you just go out, relapse, and don't even come back, you don't get your damage deposit back. And then if you can go back, you need to pay another damage deposit / sobriety deposit, which is kind of bullshit, because these are non-for-profit organizations. They're supposed to be helping addicts and other people. And they don't, because they're not super structured. They have a bunch of addicts running it, that they don't all have the experience in doing this. One of the big ones in Calgary, like what they do is they'll get you to go to like CUPS and Red Cross, Alberta Works. You get 3 damage deposits from them. So every time you go and you live in their sober living houses, or you go and live in their main building, you you pay a sobriety in their lease, or in their in your lease agreement. Your big thick lease agreement was like 100 pages thick. In there it says that if you relapsed while you're there, they take all of your like deposit, and then they just tell you to go to like Red Cross or CUPS or Alberta Works or some other organization that'll cover the damage deposit that you've already paid, sometimes twice, 3 times. There's a reason why Alberta Works doesn't cover their program anymore. So you have to get private funding to go through their program, and then it's all Christian based. And I'm not knocking Christianity. I'm just saying, like, they don't have the tools to deal with some of the traumatic shit that people go through down here or out here. So they get left out and they have nowhere to go. People like me. The only reason why I got kept was because I was Indigenous, and I got to be an Indigenous poster boy. That's what sucks about being Indigenous in the healthcare system, is that people don't listen to you, or people only listen to you because you're Indigenous. People will only want you around because you can play that Indigenous card, or they can with you. They can be recognized by being there for you, with you, helping you. It sucks because there are a lot of Indigenous people that can't go to like the drop-in center or to the mustard seed because we get angry when we're not there. A lot of the homeless people that go and live at the homeless shelters have mental health issues. So, some of these Indigenous people lash out. They try and fight people, and then they get kicked out and they have nowhere to go. So then they go stay in tents. And then the city police go and tear these tents down. So then they go set up this tent protest. I've been one of those Indigenous people that have had my tent torn down, my tarp. It's not cool. It's not right. I've gotten kicked out of a lot of sober living housing because of my temper, and I get that. But none of them offered to help me deal with that issue. Indigenous people don't want, we don't have that help. People think that we have all this fucking help. Well, you know what? We don't. If we did, fuck yeah. I wouldn't be complaining right now and making this video. I got kicked out of all these non-for-profit Christian sober living houses. And I had to go stay in someone's trailer for a couple months in Kensington until I got out of there. And then, I haven't really had anywhere to go because of my record, because of my anger issues. And it's hard for me to get help with my anger issues because of my record. People don't want to listen to me because I'm angry, and they don't want to give me the time of day. And it's like, man, I'm trying to change and I'm asking for help. And I'm just getting the fucking runaround. I've called the mental health line and I've used everything that they've given me, and they, everyone's just like, well, then go stay in the hospital. But it's like, dude, there's an epidemic going on right now. Do you want to go stay in the hospital with COVID? Because I don't. It's unfair, the treatment that we get from the healthcare system, from the addiction programs, from these non-for-profit organizations. If the government really wants to start reconciliating, how about we create actual non-for-profit addiction recovery, housing programs that help? How about we put restrictions and adjust how our addiction programs and rehab programs are run, because they're not working, because people are still fucking dying of this epidemic. Not just Indigenous, but everyone. People are out there fucking, not just Indigenous, but fucking white people, Black, Hispanic, East Indian. They're out there homeless, smoking meth, running around shooting up meth. There's something wrong with our healthcare system, our mental health care system, our addiction programs, because nothing's fucking working. We need to change it. We need to adjust it. These issues need to be addressed. I want to sit down with all the MLAs in the city and say, yo, dude, this is what we got to do to change. I've had my protest. Now I want to focus on what I can do to make shit change. I don't want to just protest downtown and get the word out. I want to talk to people that know where I can make changes, where I can go and say, like, this is what I have to offer. Let's create these programs. Let's fucking put the money where it belongs. If we're gonna take $11 million from the police, why don't we? The city of Edmonton has all these fucking houses, and people don't know about this, but the city actually owns a bunch of fucking houses. They own housing units all over the city. Houses are in the city of Edmonton's name that they could fucking turn into sober living houses. Put restrictions on them. Have the proper mental health care and trauma response people there to deal with issues, instead of kicking these people out and putting them on the streets and then them ending up in jail and in this fucking cycle of in and out of jail until they're maxed out in sentences, and then they're fucking 50 years old and they can't do shit because they're 50 years old and they've spent most of their life in solitaire. Because that kind of shit happens all the time and people just kind of ignore it and sweep it under the rug. It's the kind of shit that needs to be changed in the city. We need better homeless programs, not homeless programs that just sweep people under the rug or keep them like comforted while they're there. Not these privatized ones that give out fucking loans. That's fucking ridiculous. What kind of homeless program gives out fucking higher interest loans? It's disgusting. It's fucking gross. We need homeless programs that have mental health care workers there. Because I've lived on the streets and I know a lot of these people just have mental health issues that people are ignoring. Do you think people really want to live down there and all that? I didn't. When I was homeless, I just didn't care about the world because I hated myself. I drank everything in front of me. Listerine, cheap beer, mouth, watered down fucking rubbing alcohol. I smoked whatever you gave me. I took whatever pill you gave me. I snorted whatever you gave me. Because I hated myself. Because I wasn't in the right mental state. I was so far in my depression and so far in my mania that I thought living on the streets was okay. And even when I got off the streets, every time I relapsed, when I lived in Calgary, I'd go straight back to Alpha House. Straight back to Alpha House. Like, I wouldn't fucking skip, like, a beat. You want to find me when I relapse? Go find me at Alpha House or places like at Alpha House. That's where I'll be. So a lot of these programs don't want to help me because of my violent record. Because when I'm intoxicated, when I'm out there in that lifestyle, I'm aggressive, angry, hurt. I don't ever want to go back to that. So that's the shit that needs to change in our healthcare systems. The way we deal with our Indigenous people, for one, but our addicts, our mental health care, like, that shit needs to be revamped. We need to fucking organize all that shit because it's not working. If it was working, our homeless population wouldn't be as high as it is right now. There wouldn't be 350 homeless people living downtown on a fucking lot in a bunch of tents. A lot of those people have mental health issues and suffer from addiction, and there's an overdose down there daily, I was told. Those people need help. They don't need to be locked up. What is this? America? Not America? Fucking America? That's what Alberta feels like. That's what all this shit feels like. America. Fuck. Bullshit. You stop privatizing or if we are going to privatize our fucking addiction programs or mental health programs, then we better fucking revamp the rules in the system because their shit isn't working and we got to fucking get them to, get their percent of recovery up, instead of like 1 to 3% recovery rate. We need to get like a 5 to 80% recovery rate from these fucking programs. Shit needs to change. Shit needs to change in our mental health, addiction, and healthcare programs. Like I said, if this is all going to stay privatized, then we better put more restrictions on them and say, look, if you guys aren't going to fucking put out any more, like more of a higher percentage of recovered addicts and recovered mental health care, like whatever, we're not going to fund you. Why are we cycling addicts through these certificate mills? That's all they are. You go through their 30-day program, you get a certificate, you get whatever, and then you get put out in the world because you know all about your addiction, but you didn't get to deal with the underlying issues. So eventually they fucking relapse and they end up back in the fucking homeless system, and then they get back into the healthcare system by going to detox and going to rehab, and it's just a vicious fucking cycle that isn't working, that's really oppressing our people. And people need to wake the fuck up and understand that that's what's really going on. Shit needs to get changed. We can't just focus on these 12-step programs and religion. We need to work with mental health and fucking trauma and other therapies other than this fucking, like, I'm not saying that faith in the 12 steps are wrong. I'm saying there's more to fucking addiction than just that. Some people, like, they have a shit ton of issues that they need to deal with, and they just get cycled in and out of these fucking programs. They go to jail, get out of jail, get put in a treatment, get into these like sober living programs, and then they relapse because they didn't deal with their underlying issues. So then they get locked up again, then they come out, and then they go back to these sober living programs, and then fucking it's just like that over and over and over again. Something's got to change. That's what's up. It's just something's got to fucking change. And I'm going to be interviewing Marlene and, getting her story and getting that out there. So if people want to have protests and come, like, have her speak at your protest and tell her story, she's a pretty badass woman. She said she's a little old Native woman that used to work in corrections. And I was just like, wow, okay. She was like, yeah, you don't scare me, B. And I just want to be heard, and I want to give her that chance. We all need to be heard. All these Indigenous issues need to be heard and brought to people's attention. So yeah, I guess that's the direction that We Won't Be Silenced is going in. I can't talk on murdered missing Indigenous women. I can give my opinion on how the city, deals with whatever, and my experiences, and the experiences of the Indigenous people that don't have a voice, that can't be heard. Like Marlene, because yeah, her story needs to be heard. She needs to be, her voice needs to be heard, because shit needs to change, and I can't change the system alone. These stories need to be told, and that's what I want to do. So I'm gonna go focus on that for a bit and some homework. I hope you all have a good day. We won't be silenced. Indigenous lives matter. They do. I'm not trying to take anything from Black Lives Matter. I'm just saying that in Western Canada, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, the majority of the oppressed people here are Indigenous. And I'd love to work with Black Lives members. I just know that Indigenous people will come work with Indigenous people. They'll approach Indigenous people and Indigenous issues. Just like Black people will go approach Black people on Black issues. We just need to be heard. I'm not trying to take anything from Black Lives Matter. That movement is important. But there's more of us Indigenous people in the rural areas of Canada out here that get oppressed in the healthcare system, that get oppressed by the courts and jail system, by the police, by our CMP, by the government, and we don't get heard because people think that, we get all this free shit, and if we all freak out and lash out and having all these anger issues, that nobody should listen to us just because we're a bunch of fucking angry Indians. When it's like, yo, dude, let me listen to why we're angry. Instead of focusing on us freaking out, why don't you listen to what we gotta say, yo? Maybe say, yo, calm down for a minute and tell me what's up. Or let me or us freak out and whatever, get it out of our systems. And then once we do, just say, yo, let's see what we can do to change the system. Let's work together. Because you're hurt. I can see that you're hurt. I'm hurt. Let's fucking do this. Because hurt people got to get it out too. And I know I've hurt other people. And I've offended some women and some trans people. And you know what? I understand that they have gone through their traumas, and I acted out like an asshole. I didn't take into consideration that some of those trans people were victims to family violence, to spousal violence, to violence, and me acting violent the way that I was acting negatively really shows that I need to change and that the system needs to change, because nobody's really teaching me, and every time I rely on the system to help me change, I just get kind of the same bullshit. Rely on the steps, rely on God, rely on religion. And then I continue to do that, and there's still issues that aren't worked out in my head. And I still overreact and act out an emotion and act like an animal, and I get it. I was completely wrong in the way that I acted. Completely wrong. And their actions, they have nothing to do with the way I acted. And I'm learning this. I'm learning this over time, and I just, I need professional help because I get thrown in the cycle. So let's change the system. Let's make shit better. Let's get the proper people involved to make these changes, instead of just me posting on Instagram and YouTube. People help me get these videos to MLAs and to the proper people in the government, so we can start making these changes, because I can make as many videos as I want. I can fucking do them until the cows come home. I could live on live fucking Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube forever, but if this message isn't getting to the right people, then our healthcare system won't change, then our addiction programs won't change, then our government won't change. All that shit needs to change. I need to change as well. So, let's make changes. Thanks. Sorry for the ramble. Have a good day, y'all.